What happens when creativity takes control and faith is the anchor we all need. Today I'm sharing a book that challenges everything we've come to expect from Colleen Hoover. Her darkest, most debated novel yet, Women Down. If you're ready for this in-depth look that blends faith, beauty, heartfelt talk, you're in the right place. I'm Jasmine, and this is my space for beauty, books, and faith, where we see how fiction can illuminate real life, inspire spiritual growth, and even mirror our creative journeys with a pop of beauty, of course. Today is special because we won't just break down the story, we'll reflect, connect scripture, and even use beauty analogies as we go. The book we're diving into is Woman Down by Colleen Hoover. It releases January 13, 2026. It's already making waves in the book world. The story centers on Petra Rose, a celebrated author who, after a disastrous film adaptation of her work, faces backlash and spirals into creative chaos with deadlines missed and her reputation in ruins. She heads to a remote lake cabin. There, Detective Nathaniel Saint arrives, bringing disturbing news. And unexpectedly, the inspiration Petra has desperately needed. Their research sessions for her cop character blurs the lines between fiction and reality. Petra feels more alive than ever, but this new spark threatens deep turmoil and forces her to question if creativity without grounding is a blessing or a curse. Colleen Hoover herself calls this her darkest book yet. The premise is genuinely gripping. The announcement, TikTok, and Book Talk have been wild with anticipation. There's a rush of pre-orders, especially the cohort Hoover's loyalists can't wait to see her take on psychological suspense after her hit Verity. And remember, this is Colleen's first book since 2018. The last book she's written was It Starts With Us, which was the sequel to It Ends With Us. The hype is real, and with good reasons. Readers love how Hoover's write emotionally, authentically gripping, and easy to digest stories. Of course, a book like this brings questions. Critics have raised concerns about how Hoover handles trauma and abuse, and some say her prose style is too bubbly for heavy topic. On the other hand, her biggest supporters praise the depth of emotion, the hope her characters find, and her willingness to tackle difficult conversation. If you spend any time on Reddit or Goodreads, you'll see lively debates. For me, I think there's room for all perspective, and that's the power of storytelling. A compelling book invites us to feel things, debate, and sometimes even disagree. Let's dig into the real heart of Woman Down. The story integrates creativity, obsession, truth versus deception, trauma, and personal responsibility. These are big themes, not just for Petra, but for all of us. Personally, Petra's chaos reminds me that creativity, passion, is nothing without purpose and wisdom. Whether you write, paint, parent, or lead, unchecked creativity can spiral. This book made me reflect on times where I've chased inspiration, forgetting to anchor myself in values and faith. That's where faith comes in. When I think about Petra's journey, Proverbs 4:23 jumps to mind. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Petra forgot to guard her heart, and her creativity led into a storm she never planned. For those of us driven by passion, this scripture reminds us to ground ourselves. Faith isn't just a safety net. It's what keeps creativity vibrant, true, and healthy. I believe that when we let God guide our inspiration, it brings us restoration rather than chaos, even when circumstances look bleak. Let's have a little beauty fun. If Colleen Hoover's earlier books were a soft pink gloss, sweet, approachable, gentle, they would be the Fenty Gloss Balm in the shade Fussy. The Fenty Gloss Balm cost $22. Woman Down is a bold matte red, dramatic, intense, impossible to ignore, like the Fenty Beauty Stunner lip paint in the shade Uncensored. This cost $29. Sometimes our stories, just like our makeup, calls for transformation that catches everyone's attention. How does Woman Down measure up versus Hoover's bestsellers like It Ends With Us, Ugly Love, or even Verity? Earlier works lean into emotional romances, healing, and catharsis. The heroines were vulnerable, young, and often mirrored in love or trauma, seeking hope. Woman Down takes us somewhere new, a psychological thriller filled with moral ambiguity, creativity, obsession, and buried truth. Colleen's style is more layered, mature, suspenseful, a real evolution, just like swapping gentle makeup for a look that demands a second glance. Just like switching up your makeup look, creative risks pay off when they spark a conversation, and this book is sure just to do that. The community split. Cohorts are calling it her best work, yet raw and deeply moving. Other, especially critics and fence sitters on Book Talk and Reddit, question whether the book's darkness will alienate old fans. Through all the excitement and skepticism, the conversation matters. This is what makes book communities vibrant and worthwhile. No story leaves us unchanged. Woman Down is both a thrilling read and a mirror for anyone balancing creativity and reputation. For me, I hope this book helps readers see the value in anchoring inspiration in faith, love, and wisdom. Maybe Petra's journey will make someone guard their heart a little more closely and less messy creativity turn into something beautiful. On January 13, 2026, are you ready for a book that challenges your heart and your mind? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to know what you think of Colleen Hoover's new direction. Are you excited or cautious? If you enjoy this analysis, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share with friends who love heartfelt read and honest conversation. And as always, remember I'm always thinking of you, sending my love, and bye for now.